Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the post show here at Connections. And we are joined by Darren and by Andy and by Layla. And I'm Dave, for those of you who may not happen to know. Good to see all of you here this afternoon. So let's just dive right in.
Okay.
Because I know, Darren, you're leading worship today.
Yep, I am.
So you're gonna have to bug out pretty early. So let's just go ahead and dive right in. Start with a really general question. Perry covered a lot of information today when he kicked off a little mini series on who am I, about our identity, who we are as people. I'm curious. You're all seasoned followers of Jesus. What is it that Perry said this morning that just most provoked your thinking? Maybe it convicted you, maybe it encouraged you, but what really stood out to you as you heard the message this morning?
Did you just call us old when you said seasoned?
No, that means you're a veteran.
Okay.
It's like a seasoned professional football player, still very, very young. But very experienced. You're an experienced follower.
Just clarifying.
You could all be my children, Layla, so I am not calling any of you old.
Okay. I think, I don't know if there's just like one specific thing that stuck out to me. I just think the entirety of today's message is probably like one of my favorite topics in general.
Okay.
Around just the reminder of being created in God's image.
Yeah.
It's something that is personally special to me. I've talked about this before. I was created for a very specific purpose. I shouldn't be here today.
Yeah.
Like, it is a pure miracle that I am alive, and there's a story behind it, and I won't, because, Darren's got to go on stage, so I won't go into that, but
It's a beautiful story, however.
Yeah. And I think that everybody is, it's for everybody, but it's just something that my mom told me about the situation when I was really young, and it just resonated with me at a very young age, and it was confusing because I was like, man, I think I'm going to be on the Oprah Winfrey show. Like, that's how special I am. But I was right about the show part because I'm on this show.
About this show
But yeah, so I really love this topic. It's easy to forget when like as Perry was mentioning, you get defined by society and the world, right?
Yeah.
I am a mom and I'm working, and I forget this like foundational piece. So I really appreciated today's message.
And those other aspects, like being a mom, your job, what you do for a living, those are important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? They are a part of who we are, but they're not the core of who we are.
Yeah, but it's so easy to get consumed by that. The mom piece is like through and through. I mean, it's not that I forget who I am, but I'm not thinking about it. It's not at top of mind. Like, all of my duties and responsibilities is like, right? I have to keep 3 humans alive, and my husband. I would say he's a child too.
We won't ask which is the hardest.
So, yeah.
And that's so important, because doing those other roles that define a lot of what our life looks like, if we're going to do them really well, it needs to come out of the sense that we know who we are. And knowing who you are creates a confidence. It almost helps us to relax in doing the things that we need to do. So I think it really, really is important that we try to remember and live out of that sense of who we are while we're doing the things that we need to do.
Very true.
Curious, Andy, what stood out the most to you today?
I mean, kind of the same.
Okay.
I've been lucky that I've never really cared what other people think, or what I've been quote unquote defined by, because I grew up at a time when being a nerd was not cool. Like, there weren't comic book movies. There weren't these Comic-Cons where everybody goes to. Like, I had to, I got made fun of for it, and for a while there, I just put up a shield, and it's like one of those things where it would have been nicer to remind myself when I was younger that these labels that get put on you, nerd, dad, jock, this or that, whatever, are meaningless, because we're all made in God's image. And ultimately that's where, once you've come to grips with that, that's when your own confidence, I feel, starts the most. Because then you're like, I don't care what label somebody puts on me. I know why I'm here. But it's still tough because, we're all humans and we're broken. So those things hurt still, unfortunately.
For sure.
But yeah, so for me, it's just kind of that same thing. Just reminding myself that core is always there and that it's so easy to just, because it's harder to explain that when somebody just goes, what are you? I'm a dad. I'm a nerd. I'm a this. I'm a that. Saying that I'm created in God's image opens up a lot more stuff that you have to talk about. And sometimes it's tough. So
it's tough. It probably would lead to some good conversations, but you can't do that all the time.
Yeah, we don't have time. Sometimes.
And I love what you just said. And it's something that Perry mentioned in the message. And that is, those labels can change, but who we are is unchangeable.
Yeah.
And so being confident and secure needs to grow out of something that isn't ever going to change.
Yep.
I think that's really critically important. Darren, what about you?
I really liked the aspect of realizing that you're part of a bigger story, like God's story, right? And I think identity, losing yourself in your own identity kind of takes you out of that story sometimes because we tend to focus on our lives and what's going on instead of looking at the bigger picture, what God's doing.
Yeah.
So when I was in college, we had a motto for kind of like the university's motto for biblical studies was God is seeking to redeem the world through faithful and obedient servants. And so sometimes we lose sight of what God's doing, that bigger picture. We need to partner with God in redeeming the world. We lose sight of that and we fall into our own identities a lot of times. But even in evangelism, I think we sell it short sometimes when we say hey, it's about getting to heaven, right? Instead of telling them, hey, there's this big thing that God's trying to do that you can be a part of and you have a role in this and you actively have to have a role in this, right? You can't sit on the sideline and just be a observer. God has a role that you need to play, and He needs you to partner with Him in doing that. So that's what it reminded me of that.
Good stuff. I remember, I don't remember how long ago, but I remember hearing someone say that when we forgot who we were on the inside, we began wearing our labels on the outside. Okay, so here's Andy. He's got this really sweet Columbia sweatshirt on today, all right? Which, by the way, I really like that one, Andy.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Good sweatshirt.
Thanks.
But you know what's fascinating? If you look at pictures from 40 years ago, there weren't labels on the outside. It wasn't this big, here's this brand or whatever. But it's like when we began losing who we were, we had to start looking for external labels to apply to ourselves to figure out who we are as someone, rather than just understand this is who I am because the one who made me told me. Now I found interesting. I kind of try to understand and organize information for a living. So it's whenever I listen to somebody, I'm always putting it in an order that makes the most sense to me. And when Perry began this morning, he gave what just occurred to me was it's like some implications of being made or created by God. And the first implication was that it means we're here on purpose, right? I mean, something that's created didn't show up by accident. There's intentionality behind it. So we all are here on purpose for a purpose. That is so true. But how do we discover the purpose God had in bringing us into the world? How do we go about discovering that?
Can you tell me the answer?
I have a feeling March 2nd through 16th when we have our next steps class.
Yes.
Some people figure that out. But I found for me personally when I dove into church, volunteering, spending more time, his voice becomes more clear. And I know one of the things I'm passionate about is giving back to our youth group, middle schoolers through high schoolers. I get that age. I understand them. I don't have to change diapers. I don't have to do this or that, but things have happened where I know where I'm at and I know where I'm placed and what my skill set brings to hang out with them. I'm like, I can easily relate, as my wife would say. Yeah, he thinks like a teenager most of the time. But things like that when you get kind of put in and plug in, and when you take your preconceived notions of church or what you're on this earth for and just let God guide it. And as you go down that path and things start to reiterate why you're here.
Yeah.
It's tough because it's not a simple answer like you got to do this and this is how you'll know what you're made for.
Yeah.
You have to try different things.
Yeah.
And for a while I didn't do youth group. I tried helping here, I tried helping there.
Yeah.
And it clicked. And I've been doing that for like over a decade now. So
yes, you have. And you do it extremely well, Andy.
I do it okay.
There's
a lot.
You do it extremely well. And I don't know that you understand fully how profound what you just said was. Because what you said was, and Layla's
Usually
like, her jaw drops. Yeah. We bring Darren in for profundity. We bring Adam, or we bring Andy in for comic relief. Is that what it is?
I think so.
So we're switching roles today. So I have to come up with something
and
funny.
Layla keeps us grounded. So that's all good stuff. But you said, one, you have to hear God's voice. God directs into an understanding of it, but you also have to understand yourself. Because if you're made on purpose for a purpose, then how God wired you up, he's probably smart enough to wire you up in a way that it fits what he wants you to do.
I would imagine so.
And so understanding yourself and what you're like, what you enjoy, your desires, your abilities are a big part of it. And then you combine that with not being afraid to experiment, to be able to try. Most people, it's not like the first job they ever get is, this is the job I want to do the rest of my life. Or the first ministry or service opportunity, this is what I'm going to do. It's a willingness to try things to see how it fits. And I think that combination that you present, Andy, is really a beautiful matrix to help us figure out, how do I discover my unique purpose? I know I have one. God made me on purpose. But what is it? It's a process of discovery, to be sure. That's good. So one of the implications was there's purpose. Another implication that I got from the very first part of what Perry had to say was that I also I'm known by God. In fact, God knows me better than I know myself. How should that reality, that implication of God being the one that actually put me together, knows how I'm supposed to work, knows what I'm made for, how should that inform our relationship with God? The fact that he knows me better than I know myself, how should that inform the way I relate to God?
Hey, you're here for the profound stuff, man.
So
Andy, I'm sorry. He just got all the profound stuff. He's got nothing.
I'm trying to preserve my voice because I don't have.
Okay, I just didn't want to keep talking.
But no, yeah.
I'm like, because Darren's always next to me. I'm like, he's always dropping bombs over here.
So let's do this. Let's all simultaneously turn and look at Layla.
Oh.
Layla's most favorite thing. And also, everybody be quiet
Silence.
for 10 seconds.
Yeah, if you don't say anything. What I was thinking, I don't know if it's a good answer or not, is thinking about it from my own personal perspective, because I overthink everything. And just as we're trying, like, I love this topic, but I also despise it because I feel like I have moments where I'm like, I don't know what my purpose is, because I think it's supposed to be. I was supposed to go on the Oprah Winfrey show. Like, I thought it was going to be very grand. That's what I imagined as a young age. But then over my seasoned walk of life, I have realized that it's a lot of little small things, and maybe not, and I don't mean like small as in they're not important, but like, I don't have a musical talent where I lead worship. I'm not necessarily feeling drawn at this moment to do something like working with young adults, or, I I feel like I don't have a very specific thing, and that has always broken my brain. And then, to answer your question, it's sometimes I question what God made me for, or I'm like, am I just not getting it, right? Like, is it not, why aren't you making it more obvious? But I think it is obvious. I'm thinking too much about it. This is what goes on, people, in my head. It's like, and the smoke starts coming out of my ears. And this is where my husband's like, what is your point here? That is my point, is like, I think that there's a whole bunch of wonderful little small moments. Maybe it's a dad joke I shared, or maybe it's a conversation with somebody at work, or maybe it's a smile at somebody, like to somebody at the gas station. Like, I think mine are like little things right now. Because, like I said, I'm raising 3 humans and my man-child husband, and I have these responsibilities, and I don't know what will be in my future and what God will want from me then. But I'm trying to embrace that there's still a lot of meaning in the things that I do day to day in the walk of life that I have now. And in the meantime, asking God, like, hey, if there's something bigger that I'm supposed to be doing, can you just like put it on a neon sign in big letters so that I can
if I may,
not overthink it?
You've shared a lot of stuff here in that chair that some people watching have, they haven't been able to hear somebody else experience,
They're like, she's weird.
No, that doesn't make you weird. Trust me, I'm weird. I know what weird is. But what that does for you, like somebody hears that's God using you in your specific way that you meant, I'm not on Oprah, but you're also still explaining and sharing your story that not a lot of people have. So I think that's another thing you should not overlook is that you have a different look on life than a lot of people do, because like you said, you shouldn't be here.
Yeah.
I don't have that story. I mean, I have a story that my parents were told for a while they couldn't have kids. And they were like literally a couple weeks away from like signing papers to like,
No kidding, man. You did
not
and then
know
boom, I come along.
You're like, no.
I'm like, wait a minute.
Don't do
That's
that.
why, that's why I heard your parents talk about how they should have adopted.
I know. Oh, trust me, I get that joke a lot. But it's still one of those things where, something small like that I don't think about still is informed who I am. And God had that set up for a specific reason. And the other thing is, knowing that he knows every hair on my head, as thinning as they're getting and as fast as they fall out. But in that, before I even utter something, he knows what I'm going to say. He knows what's going to happen. Like my whole life's charted out. I'm experiencing it, but he knows it. And he guides us in ways that help make that life the best way possible. Again, if we just get out of our own way and listen to it.
If we'll follow that
if only it was as easy as that. But
if we follow that guidance, I think it's, first of all, I hear what you're saying. And then inwardly, I find myself chuckling because I watch you on the pre-show set a tone that relaxes people and draws them in while it informs. I look at your dialogue because you're the online host for our services.
Yes.
And I see the things that you sprinkle in there. And then I hear you on the post show. And I couldn't agree with Andy more. You have the capacity to articulate a viewpoint that's done with transparency and genuineness that I think resonates with almost everybody. And I look at that whole just on Sunday morning, Layla, and I look at it and go, that is special. And that is profound.
Keep going, Dave. You're going to make her cry. Keep going.
That's making a difference. No, and what one of the things that I think we fall into a trap, this is my guess, is that we look at the guy or the girl on stage delivering the big sermon, right?
Yeah.
Or we read Bible characters, right? And they're like, whoa, let my people go, right? And they're doing all this stuff. And we forget that they were just playing the role God assigned to them. Mm-hmm. And if we play the role God assigns to us, we are doing something big and profound and meaningful. Raising up being the most influential force in raising up a few of the people that will create the future, which is what parenting is. I'm not sure how it get much more profound than that.
Can I add something profound too?
Please
Before I have to
do.
go, I do have one thing. I feel like a lot of times we sell ourselves short on our impact on people too. When we say, "Oh, we don't do much. I only do this." But when you're living Jesus's example and you're being Jesus to the world, sometimes just your kind word or your kind action somewhere could change the course of someone's life completely.
Yep.
Right.
So
and
well
and I've heard countless stories of people, I was going to go jump off a bridge and this lady just bought me coffee in the morning, and it just renewed my my belief in humanity, right? My trust in humanity. And so I would say we're going to probably get to heaven and realize that the little things that we've done had major kingdom impacts. So that's I have to go, but that was my profound.
Amen. Oh, well, that was a mic drop right there. So that was well done. That was a legit one. That was very well done. And that is that. Amen. Amen to all of that. Boy, so much. These were the warm-up questions I had. So it's like,
Oh, come back, Darren.
but now that profundity
Now we
is
need
left,
profoundness.
and we're only left with relatability and comic relief.
Oh, boy.
That's all we've
The
got.
viewers are dropping by the moment.
Oh gosh. When a culture is repeatedly told that they're just animals, not unique, made in the image of God. But look, when I grew up and was going through school, it was already in the school system. I mean, this is evolution. It was time and chance, and out of the chaos became all the things here. And I can't help but think that once we understand ourselves as merely a product of time and chance, I'm no different than an animal, we start behaving like one. And the things that make us uniquely human, love, sacrifice, creativity, morality, responsibility, stewardship for the planet, stewardship for each other in relationships. No wonder that our culture seems to be in such a big mess sometimes because people have been behaving like what they were told they are rather than who they really are, which is why this is such a significant topic for us to be diving into. And I'm looking forward to the next couple of weeks.
Me too.
To see what else unfolds and what other further conversations that we can have. Well, we do appreciate you joining us. The post show is really designed to just get the conversation started. And I hope that you, in the small group that you're a part of, and I trust that you are a part of one, or with your circle of friends and in your family, will keep the conversation going and just see what God does with it as we learn more deeply about who we actually are and the implications that makes for giving us the most profound possible of lives. So thanks for joining us today. We hope you have a fantastic week, and we'll look forward to seeing you next Sunday.